Right now, as you settle in for the night, something quiet is happening inside you. Not in one place, not in one organ, not in one single system that can be named easily and set apart from the rest. It is happening everywhere, in the cells of your skin, in the cells lining your blood vessels, in the muscle fibers that carried you through the day, in the immune cells moving through your bloodstream like small, patient sentinels, in the cells of your liver, your heart, your lungs, your brain. All through the body, the work of the day has left its trace. Energy has been spent, proteins have folded and unfolded, mitochondria have burned fuel and released tiny sparks of chemical stress. DNA has been read, copied, protected, and sometimes nicked by the ordinary pressure of being alive. Signals have passed from cell to cell. Inflammation has risen and fallen. Repair crews have been waiting for the right conditions. And now, as the room grows darker and your breathing begins to slow, the body begins to change its priorities. Wakefulness is expensive. It is useful, necessary, beautifully designed, but expensive. To be awake is to respond, to move, to think, to decide, to manage light and sound and memory and emotion, to hold the body upright against gravity, to keep attention open to the world. Sleep asks something different. Sleep lowers the demands of the outside world so the inner world can be tended. It is not emptiness. It is not shut down. It is not the body abandoning the day. It is the body turning inward. Tonight, we are going to follow that inward turn down to its smallest scale, to the level where aging does not look like grey hair or wrinkles or birthdays or the slow passing of years. At the cellular level, aging is quieter than that. It is accumulated strain, tiny pieces of damage that were not fully repaired, signals that stayed switched on too long, mitochondria that produced a little less clean energy than they once did, DNA that needed more protection, inflammation that did not quite return to baseline, proteins and organelles that should have been cleared away, but remained, cells that grew tired of dividing, tired of repairing, tired of answering the body's instructions, and entered a state called senescence, a kind of living pause in which they no longer serve quite the way they once did. This is not meant to alarm you. It is simply the scale at which the body keeps its account. Every day adds something. Every night removes something. And the balance between those two movements, damage and repair, wear and restoration, noise and quiet, is part of what determines how old the body feels beneath the calendar. If you have spent a night with the story of the brain's overnight cleaning, this is the wider version of that same truth. The night is not empty. It is active, precise, and deeply protective. Only this time, we are not following the fluid pathways of the brain alone. We are widening the lens. We are following the body into the cells themselves, into the small chambers where energy is made, where DNA is guarded, where clocks are reset, where damage is sensed, and where repair begins again. Because sleep is not only something that helps you feel better in the morning. Sleep is one of the ways the body resists time. Not by stopping it, not by pretending the years do not pass, but by repairing what the day has worn down, by lowering the internal noise, by giving cells the conditions they need to clear waste, restore rhythm, defend their genetic instructions, and begin again. This is why the title of this journey has two sides. Sleep deprivation ages your cells, and sleep reverses it. That does not mean one good night erases every cost, or that sleep is magic, or that the body can be made untouched by time. It means something quieter, and in many ways more beautiful. The body was built with repair in mind, and sleep is one of the places where that repair is allowed to happen. So if you are listening from bed tonight, you do not need to solve this with effort. You do not need to command your cells. You do not need to understand every pathway as it moves. For now, simply let the body begin doing what it was designed to do in the dark. Let the room soften. Let the day move farther away. And let us follow the night inward, down into the quiet machinery of repair. The first thing to understand is that your cells are never still. Even when you are resting, they are working. Each cell is like a small living city, with borders, gates, signals, power stations, recycling centers, repair crews, messengers, clocks, and libraries of instructions folded carefully into its center. Those instructions are written in DNA. And DNA is often described as stable, as if it simply sits inside the cell, preserved and untouched. But in the living body, DNA is not locked away behind glass. It is used, it is opened, it is read, it is copied, it is exposed to the ordinary chemistry of life. And because life is active, DNA must be protected actively. Every day, small forms of damage can occur. Some come from normal metabolism. Some come from reactive oxygen molecules, the highly energetic byproducts of cellular work. Some come from inflammation, stress signaling, environmental exposures, or simple biological chance. The body expects this. That is important. Damage is not failure. Damage is part of life. The question is whether repair keeps pace. During prolonged wakefulness, the demands on the cell remain high. The brain keeps processing. Muscles keep responding. Hormones keep shifting. The immune system keeps scanning. Mitochondria keep producing energy. And the longer wakefulness stretches beyond what the body is designed to carry, the more repair pressure can build. Studies in sleep deprivation models have found signs of DNA damage, oxidative injury, and changes in the systems that normally protect cells from wear. Research also suggests that sleep itself helps activate repair processes, especially in neurons, where the cost of constant signaling can be especially high. One striking line of research has shown that sleep increases the movement and accessibility of chromosomes inside neurons, helping repair machinery reach damaged places. Another has connected a DNA repair sensor called PARP1 with the drive to sleep, as if the cell can sense when damage has accumulated and begin calling the organism toward rest. There is something almost tender in that. The body does not only become sleepy because the clock says it is night, it may also become sleepy because repair is waiting, because somewhere deep in the cells the cost of wakefulness has been counted and the need for restoration has begun to rise. This is one reason sleep deprivation is so different from simple tiredness. Tiredness is what you feel. Cellular strain is what the body carries. You may feel it as fog, irritability, heaviness, hunger, restlessness, or the strange wired feeling that comes when the body is exhausted, but the nervous system will not power down. But beneath those sensations, the cells are dealing with chemistry. Energy demand, oxidative pressure, inflammatory signals, clock disruption, reduced repair time. This is where cellular aging begins to enter the story. Aging at the level of the cell is not one thing. It is many small processes that begin to lean in the same direction. DNA damage accumulates. Mitochondria lose efficiency. Oxidative stress increases. Inflammation becomes harder to quiet. Telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of chromosomes, can become shorter or more vulnerable. The epigenome, the layer of chemical marks that helps regulate which genes are turned on and off, can shift. Autophagy, the cell's internal cleanup system, may become less efficient. Senescent cells may begin to gather. None of this happens all at once, and none of it belongs only to one bad night. The body is forgiving. It is adaptive. It can absorb disruption and return toward balance. But when sleep is repeatedly shortened, fragmented, or mistimed, the body loses some of its nightly opportunity to restore that balance. The repair window is squeezed. The cleanup crews have less time. The clock signals become less clear. The cell begins another day before the work of the last one has fully settled. And over time, that matters. One of the simplest ways to picture this is to imagine a room used every day for careful work. During the day, tools are taken out, papers are opened, lights are on, machines run. Small shavings gather on the floor. The air grows warm. The room is useful because it is active. But at night, someone needs to come in. The tools need to be put back. The surfaces need to be cleared. The machines need to cool. The lights need to dim. The tiny signs of use need to be noticed before they become damage. If the room is used again too soon, before that quiet maintenance is complete, it may still function. For a while, it may function almost normally. But the disorder begins to carry over. That is the cellular meaning of chronic sleep loss. Not catastrophe, carryover. The unfinished work of yesterday entering the biology of today. And one of the places this carryover shows itself is in oxidative stress. Oxidative stress sounds abstract, but the idea is simple. Cells use oxygen to make energy. Mitochondria, the tiny energy-producing structures inside the cell, help turn fuel into usable power. In that process, reactive oxygen molecules can be produced. In the right amount, these molecules are part of normal signaling. The body is designed for them. It has antioxidant defenses, repair enzymes, and balancing systems that keep them from overwhelming the cell. But when sleep is restricted, research suggests that oxidative pressure can rise and antioxidant defenses can become strained. The sparks outnumber the cleanup. Lipids, proteins, and DNA become more exposed to chemical wear. Mitochondria, which are both producers and targets of this stress, can begin to suffer. And this creates a loop. Stressed mitochondria may make energy less cleanly. Less clean energy may produce more reactive byproducts. More reactive byproducts may create more cellular damage. And more damage increases the need for sleep. The body keeps asking for the condition that allows repair. This is why mitochondrial dysfunction matters so much in a story about aging. Mitochondria are often called the powerhouses of the cell, but that phrase can make them sound mechanical, like little batteries. They are more dynamic than that. They shift shape, they divide, they fuse, they signal, they respond to stress. They are deeply tied to metabolism, inflammation, and cellular survival. When mitochondria are working well, the cell has energy not just to function, but to maintain itself. Repair requires energy. Cleanup requires energy. Keeping order requires energy. When mitochondria become strained, the cell may still survive, but it has less reserve for restoration. Sleep gives mitochondria a different internal environment. Metabolic demand changes, temperature shifts, hormonal signals alter. Circadian timing coordinates which genes are active, which repair pathways are emphasized, which tissues are doing which kind of maintenance. The body is not doing the same thing all night. It is conducting a sequence. And that sequence depends on time. This brings us to the circadian clock, the deep timing system built into nearly every cell in the body. There is a master clock in the brain, but it does not work alone. Peripheral clocks exist in the liver, the heart, the muscles, the fat tissue, the immune system, and other organs. These clocks help determine when cells expect food, light, movement, rest, repair, and metabolic activity. When sleep comes at a regular time and darkness arrives, and meals and movement fall into a stable rhythm, the clocks can coordinate. The body knows what kind of work belongs to this hour. But when sleep is irregular, repeatedly shortened, or pushed against the body's timing, the clocks can become less aligned. The orchestra is still playing, but the sections no longer enter together. That matters because the clock is not only about feeling sleepy. Clock genes help regulate metabolism, inflammation, mitochondrial function, DNA repair, and the daily rhythm of cellular maintenance. Some experimental models show that disrupting core clock genes can produce age-like changes, including problems in tissue function and resilience. The language can sound technical, but the feeling is simple. Your body repairs best when it knows what time it is. Sleep tells it, darkness tells it, regularity tells it. And when the signal is clear, the cells can begin their nightly work with less confusion. One of the molecules that sits near the crossroads of timing, energy, and aging is NAD+. NAD+ is involved in cellular energy metabolism. It also supports enzymes connected with DNA repair and sirtuin signaling, pathways often studied in aging biology. It rises and falls in relation to metabolic state and circadian rhythm, and research has linked NAD+ biology with the body's internal clocks. This is not a supplement story. It is not about chasing a molecule in isolation. It is about rhythm. Inside the cell, energy and time are linked. The body needs to know not only what to do, but when to do it. When sleep and circadian timing are disrupted, NAD+-related pathways may be affected, and the cell's ability to coordinate energy, repair, and gene regulation may become less stable. Again, the theme repeats. Sleep is not passive. It is coordination. It is the nightly signal that helps the body bring repair, energy, inflammation, and timing back into relationship. Another way sleep deprivation may age cells is through inflammation. Inflammation is not the enemy. It is part of protection. When there is injury or infection, inflammatory signals help call attention and resources to the place where something needs to be handled. The immune system uses inflammation as one of its languages, but like every strong language in the body, it has to be regulated. It has to rise and fall. When sleep is disturbed, studies indicate that inflammatory markers can shift upward. Experimental sleep deprivation and poor sleep have been linked in research with changes in inflammatory signaling. The script does not need to become a list of cytokines. The deeper point is that sleep helps the body return inflammatory tone toward balance. Without enough sleep, the body may remain a little more defended, a little more activated, a little less settled. And chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the features often associated with biological aging. It is as if the body keeps hearing a faint alarm in the distance, not loud enough to stop everything, not clear enough to resolve, just persistent enough that cells begin to live as if something is always slightly wrong. Sleep lowers that alarm, not always completely, not instantly. But night after night, adequate sleep gives the immune system a chance to recalibrate, to respond without overreacting, to stand down when standing down is safe, to return to watchfulness without being inflamed, and that return matters. Because a cell cannot repair well when it is always being asked to defend. The same idea appears in telomeres. Telomeres are protective structures at the ends of chromosomes. You can imagine them as caps that help preserve the stability of genetic material when cells divide. Over time, telomeres can shorten, and shorter telomeres are often studied as one marker of cellular aging. Sleep research around telomeres is not perfectly simple. Some findings vary by population, health status, sleep duration, sleep quality, stress, and the type of cells being measured. That caution matters. We should not say that one night of poor sleep shortens telomeres, or that one good night lengthens them. The body is more subtle than that, but several studies have connected poor sleep quality, short or disrupted sleep, and related sleep problems with shorter telomere length in certain immune cells or blood samples. Other work has looked at sleep duration and biological aging measures more broadly, including telomeres and epigenetic age. The pattern is not a simple switch, it is a pressure. Sleep seems to be one of the conditions that helps protect the biology of timekeeping inside the cell. When sleep quality is poor and stress is high and the body does not receive enough restoration, the protective ends of chromosomes may reflect some of that strain. This is why the image of telomeres can be powerful if held gently. They are not a countdown clock to fear. They are a reminder that the body keeps records in quiet places, at the ends of chromosomes, in patterns of methylation, in mitochondrial resilience, in inflammatory tone, in how easily a cell can return to order after stress. That brings us to the epigenome. If DNA is the library of instructions, the epigenome is part of the system that helps decide which shelves are opened, which pages are read more often, and which sections are kept quiet for a time. One important epigenetic mechanism is DNA methylation, a chemical marking system that can influence gene activity without changing the DNA sequence itself. Recent research has found that prolonged mild sleep restriction can shift DNA methylation patterns in blood cells, including in genes connected with the body's clock. In one randomized crossover trial, healthy adults had a period of adequate sleep and a period of sleep restriction, about an hour and a half less sleep per night. And researchers observed methylation changes in several clock-related genes. This is early evidence. It should be held with care. Blood cells are not the whole body. Methylation shifts do not always mean a permanent change, and the science is still developing, but it gives us a remarkable image. Sleep does not only change how you feel, it may influence how the body reads itself. Not by rewriting the book, but by changing which pages are marked, which passages are emphasized, which instructions become easier or harder to access. And if sleep restriction can alter those marks, then sleep restoration may also help return the system toward healthier regulation. This is the hopeful side of epigenetics. It is responsive. The body is not stone. It is living tissue. It listens. It adjusts. It changes with light, darkness, food, movement, stress, rest, and time. And when sleep becomes more regular, deeper, and better protected, the body's instruction systems may begin to receive a clearer signal again. Now, beneath all of these mechanisms, DNA repair, mitochondrial function, inflammation, telomeres, epigenetic marks, there is another process that belongs deeply to the night. Autophagy. The word means self-eating, but the process is not destructive in the way it sounds. It is recycling. It is housekeeping. It is the cell identifying worn-out parts, damaged molecules, misfolded proteins, and tired organelles, then breaking them down so their components can be reused. Autophagy is one of the reasons a cell can renew itself without needing to replace everything. It is how the cell cleans from within. Sleep and circadian timing appear to influence this kind of cellular cleanup. When sleep is disrupted, research suggests that cleanup and repair pathways can be impaired, allowing damaged components to linger longer than they should. Imagine a small workshop where broken tools are never removed. At first, the work continues. There is still room to move. The tools still function. But slowly, the clutter begins to matter. A damaged part gets in the way. A machine runs less smoothly. The floor becomes harder to cross. New work is built around old debris. Autophagy is the clearing. Sleep is one of the conditions that helps make clearing possible. And when you see sleep this way, the idea of reversal becomes clearer. Sleep does not reverse aging by turning back a clock on the wall. It reverses the direction of the night. Instead of damage continuing to accumulate without pause, sleep shifts the body towards repair. Instead of oxidative pressure rising unchecked, antioxidant systems have room to respond. Instead of inflammatory signals staying elevated, the immune system has a chance to settle. Instead of DNA damage remaining unanswered, repair pathways can engage. Instead of tired cellular parts lingering, cleanup systems can begin to sort and recycle. Instead of clocks drifting apart, rhythm can return. This is the reversal, not fantasy, direction. The body moving away from strain and back toward maintenance. The body turning from defense toward restoration. The body using the night as it was designed to use it. And because this happens in so many places at once, the repair can be hard to picture. It does not look like one door opening. It is more like 1,000 small thresholds becoming passable again. In one cell, a damaged strand of DNA is sensed, marked, and repaired. In another, a mitochondrion that has become less efficient is tagged for renewal. In another, inflammatory signals begin to quiet. In another, a protein that has folded incorrectly is broken down and cleared. In another, the clock genes that help organize the day and night begin to fall back into rhythm. None of these changes needs to announce itself. There is no sensation for most of them, no single feeling that says, your cells are repairing now. And yet, this is part of what restoration means. The body is made of countless small renewals. One of the deeper renewals involves cells that have reached a state called senescence. A senescent cell is not dead. It is still alive, but it has changed. It has often stopped dividing. It may have sensed too much damage, too much stress, or too much risk to continue its usual work. In some situations, this is protective. A cell that has accumulated damage may stop dividing so it does not pass that damage forward. The body uses senescence for repair, wound healing, and protection. But when senescent cells accumulate and are not cleared efficiently, they can begin to change the neighborhood around them. They can release inflammatory signals. They can make nearby tissue less quiet, less balanced, more burdened. This is one of the reasons senescence has become important in aging research. Not because one senescent cell is a crisis, because too many cells in that state can shift the atmosphere of a tissue. They can make the body feel as if the alarm is still on. Sleep enters this story indirectly, through the same pathways we have been following. DNA damage, mitochondrial stress, inflammation, oxidative pressure, autophagy, immune cleanup. When sleep is repeatedly lost, several of the pressures that push cells toward dysfunction can rise. When sleep is restored, several of the systems that help clear damage and restore balance have a chance to work more effectively. So when we say sleep reverses cellular aging, we are not saying that every senescent cell simply becomes young again. We are saying that sleep changes the internal environment. It lowers some of the pressures that drive damage. It supports some of the processes that repair damage. It helps the immune system and cleanup systems recognize what needs attention. It gives the body a better chance to prevent temporary strain from becoming a lasting pattern. This distinction matters. It keeps the hope honest. Sleep is not a promise that nothing will age. It is a way the body slows the slide from use into damage and from damage into decline. It is a nightly vote for repair. The brain shows this in a particularly vivid way. During the day, neurons are metabolically active. They signal, fire, connect, adjust, and respond. The brain uses enormous energy relative to its size, and the chemistry of that energy use leaves byproducts behind. During sleep, several cleanup and repair processes become more favorable. the brain's waste clearance systems can become more active. Glial cells, the support cells of the nervous system, help maintain the environment around neurons. Some research suggests that sleep loss can impair aspects of glial cleanup and that recovery sleep can restore part of this capacity. This is one reason the brain often feels different after poor sleep. It is not only that thoughts are slower, it is that the tissue itself has been asked to keep functioning while its maintenance window was shortened. Over time, researchers have become especially interested in proteins, such as amyloid beta, one of the molecules associated with Alzheimer's pathology. Sleep appears to be one of the conditions that helps the brain manage such waste products. Sleep deprivation, by contrast, has been linked in research with greater accumulation or less efficient clearance of certain neurotoxic proteins. This is not a reason to lie awake worrying about the brain. Worry is not the medicine. The medicine is the return to rhythm. The reassurance is that the brain is not helpless. It has built-in clearance systems. It has supporting cells. It has repair pathways. It has a nightly design for tending itself. And the same principle extends beyond the brain. Blood vessels also listen to sleep. The lining of the blood vessels, called the endothelium, is active tissue. It helps regulate blood flow, pressure, inflammation, clotting, and vascular tone. When sleep is poor, especially when it is chronically disrupted or paired with breathing problems, the vascular system can experience more oxidative stress, more inflammation, more sympathetic activation, and less time in a restorative state. The heart, too, expects night. In healthy sleep, the body tends to shift away from the high alert chemistry of the day. Heart rate often slows, blood pressure may dip, metabolic demands change. The nervous system gives the cardiovascular system a quieter internal climate. This nightly lowering is part of recovery. It is one reason circadian alignment matters for long-term health. Cells in the heart and blood vessels are not just responding to pressure and flow, they are also responding to time. They have clocks. They anticipate patterns. They prepare for day and night differently. When the night is repeatedly shortened, fragmented, or mistimed, the cardiovascular system may lose some of that expected restoration. Again, the pattern is the same. The body can compensate. But compensation is not the same as restoration. Compensation keeps you going. Restoration gives back what going has used. There is another quiet system in this story, one that works almost like a quality control department inside the cell. When proteins are made, they have to fold into specific shapes. Shape determines function. A protein folded correctly can do its work. A protein folded incorrectly may become useless, sticky, or harmful if it is not handled. Cells have systems to refold, degrade, or clear damaged proteins. Sleep may support the conditions under which this internal quality control works better. When sleep is lost, damaged proteins and stressed organelles may be harder to clear. The cell may spend more of its energy managing disorder instead of renewing order. This is where autophagy, mitochondrial maintenance, and protein cleanup begin to feel like parts of the same movement. The cell is asking, what can be repaired? What should be recycled? What has become too damaged to keep? What can be broken down and used again? What must be quieted before it harms the surrounding tissue? Sleep does not answer these questions consciously. It creates the conditions in which the answers can be carried out. And the more we follow the science, the more sleep begins to look less like a single behavior and more like an entire biological environment. Darkness is part of that environment. Timing is part of it. Temperature is part of it. Reduced sensory input is part of it. Hormonal rhythm is part of it. Stable breathing is part of it. Lower sympathetic activation is part of it. The sequence of sleep stages is part of it. And inside that environment, the body's smallest systems behave differently than they do under the bright demands of wakefulness. This is why it can be misleading to think of sleep only as lost productivity. From the outside, sleep looks like nothing. The body is still, the eyes are closed, the room is dark, no visible work is being done. But inside, work has changed scale. Instead of answering emails, the body is answering DNA damage. Instead of moving through traffic, it is moving cellular debris. Instead of holding conversations, it is quieting inflammatory signals. Instead of scanning the environment, it is restoring the systems that will scan tomorrow. The work has not stopped. It has become intimate. It has moved inward. And because it is inward, it is easy to undervalue. The modern world often rewards what can be seen, measured, scheduled, and completed. Sleep does not feel like completion, it feels like surrender. But biology knows better. Every night is a kind of completion, not of life, of the day. The day's chemistry is gathered, the day's damage is assessed, the day's signals are sorted, the day's demands are slowly set down. And if the night is given enough room, the body begins to return toward baseline. This baseline is not nothing. It is health. It is the quiet middle state the body keeps trying to find. Not inflamed, not depleted, not overactivated, not flooded with oxidative stress, not confused about time, not carrying too much waste, not ignoring damage, just steady enough to begin again. That is part of what sleep restores, the ordinary steadiness that makes repair possible. And steadiness matters because the body is not repaired by one pathway alone. It is repaired in layers. One layer is chemical. Reactive oxygen molecules are balanced by antioxidant defenses. Damaged molecules are neutralized or cleared. The cell's internal chemistry is brought back toward a range where normal work can continue. One layer is structural. DNA is inspected. Broken strands are repaired. Proteins are folded, refolded, or removed. Mitochondria are maintained. Cellular membranes are protected. The physical pieces of the cell are tended. One layer is informational. The epigenome adjusts. Clock genes rise and fall. Signals tell the cell which work belongs to this hour and which work should wait. Instructions are not merely stored, they are timed. One layer is immune. Cells that are damaged, infected, old, or no longer useful must be recognized. Debris must be cleared. Inflammation must rise when needed and soften when its work is done. One layer is nervous system regulation. The body has to feel safe enough to leave high alert. The stress response has to lower. The chemistry of vigilance has to give way to the chemistry of restoration. Sleep touches all of these layers. That is why it is so difficult to replace. You can rest without sleeping, and rest has value. You can lie still in a dark room, and that too can help. You can breathe slowly, reduce stimulation, and lower demand. But sleep brings a deeper coordination that wakeful rest cannot fully imitate. It changes brain state, it changes hormonal rhythm, it changes autonomic tone, it changes the body's relationship to time. It opens a different biological program, and the cellular repair story depends on that program. This is also why sleep deprivation can feel strange in the body. It is not only fatigue, it is the feeling of layers falling out of sync. The mind may try to keep moving while the cells are asking for repair. The nervous system may become more reactive while the body is asking for quiet. Hunger may rise because metabolic signals are less stable. Pain may feel sharper because inflammatory and nervous system thresholds have shifted. The face may look older because fluid balance, inflammation, and tissue repair have not had the same overnight support. The body may seem less forgiving, less elastic, less able to absorb the day. That feeling is not weakness, It is information. It is the body saying that maintenance has fallen behind demand. And when sleep returns, the opposite can happen with equal quietness. The face softens, the appetite steadies, the body feels less braced. The mind can hold a thought without gripping it. The nervous system becomes less easily startled. Small discomforts become smaller again. The day feels less like something to survive. These changes may feel emotional, but they are also cellular. They are the lived surface of deeper restoration. There is a humility in that. We often think of health as something we build by effort, and effort has its place. We choose meals, we move the body, we keep appointments, we learn, we plan, we make changes. But sleep asks for a different kind of cooperation. It asks us to stop producing, to stop monitoring, to stop reaching outward, to stop proving that the day can be stretched a little farther. And in that stopping, the body begins work we could never perform consciously. The immune system does not need our opinion to recalibrate. Mitochondria do not need our encouragement to repair. DNA repair enzymes do not need motivation. Clock genes do not need a checklist. They need conditions. They need rhythm. They need the night to be given back to them. This is the part of sleep that can feel almost like trust. You prepare the room. You lower the light. You let the final demands of the day become less important. And then, you hand the body over to processes older and deeper than conscious control. The body receives that handoff. It may not sleep instantly. It may take time. But even the approach towards sleep begins changing the internal state. The nervous system starts to shift. The body temperature begins its slow descent. The mind's grip on the day loosens. The cells are not waiting for perfection. They are listening for direction. And direction can begin gently. It can begin with the decision that tonight does not need to be used for more wakefulness. It can begin with the willingness to let the dark be dark. It can begin with the body hearing, again, that the active part of the day is over. There is another part of this story that matters, especially because it can be easy to hear a video like this and feel pressure. If sleep repairs cells, then what about the nights you did not sleep well? What about the seasons of stress? What about the years of waking too early, staying up too late, working shifts, raising children, caring for family, carrying worry, or lying awake while the body refused to settle? The answer is not shame. The body is not fragile in that way. It is not keeping score so it can condemn you. It is always trying to adapt. It compensates. It reroutes. It repairs what it can, when it can. And when conditions improve, it responds. This is why recovery sleep matters. After sleep loss, the body often tries to deepen sleep, lengthen certain stages, and restore some of what was missed. Not everything is instantly recovered. Some effects of chronic sleep loss take time, but the drive toward repair remains. You can feel this after a period of poor sleep followed by a truly restorative night. The world looks less sharp around the edges. The body feels less inflamed, less defended. The mind has more space. Hunger signals become less chaotic. Patience returns. The day does not press quite so hard. Those are surface feelings, but beneath them, cellular systems are shifting too. Energy balance is changing, inflammatory tone is changing, hormones are changing, gene expression is changing, repair pathways are changing. The night is not simply making you feel better, it is changing the conditions under which your cells live. And this is where the tone of the video must remain calm. There is no need to turn sleep into another performance. No need to lie in bed measuring whether every cell is repairing properly. That would defeat the point. Sleep comes most easily when the body feels safe enough to release control. So the invitation is not to obsess over sleep. It is to respect it, to give it room, to understand that darkness, regularity, quiet, and enough time in bed are not small things. They are the environmental language the body understands. When you dim the lights, you are not only helping your eyes, you are helping the clock. When you keep a more regular bedtime, you are not only creating a habit, you are giving peripheral tissues a rhythm they can trust. When you protect the first stretch of the night, you are not only avoiding fatigue, you are giving deep repair processes a chance to begin under better conditions. When you wake from a night of sleep and feel restored, that restoration is not imagined. It is the echo of countless small corrections. A little less oxidative pressure here, a little more repair there, a clock signal made clearer, a damaged molecule cleared, a mitochondrial network steadied, an inflammatory signal quieted, a cell given time to return to itself. This is why sleep deprivation can make the body feel older than it is. After too little sleep, the joints may feel heavier, the face may look drawn, the mind may move more slowly, the immune system may feel more reactive, the body may crave quick energy, emotions may come closer to the surface. That feeling has biology behind it. The body is carrying yesterday's unfinished repair into today's demands. But the reverse is also true. After restorative sleep, the body can feel younger than it did the night before. Not because time has stopped, but because burden has been reduced. The cell has had a chance to clear some of the noise. The organism has had a chance to remember its rhythm. And sometimes that is enough to feel like a small return. The research on sleep and biological aging is still developing. Scientists are still working to understand which markers change quickly, which change slowly, which are causal, which are only associated, and how much recovery is possible after different kinds of sleep disruption. That uncertainty should not weaken the story. It should make it more honest. The body is complex. Aging is complex. Sleep is complex. But the direction of the evidence is meaningful. Sleep loss touches many of the same systems that aging touches. DNA damage, mitochondrial function, inflammation, oxidative stress, clock gene regulation, telomere biology, epigenetic marking, cellular cleanup. And sleep supports many of the systems that repair, coordinate, and protect them. This is why a night of sleep is not a luxury added to health after everything else is done. It is one of the foundations beneath the rest. Nutrition matters, movement matters, light matters, connection matters, purpose matters. But sleep is where many of those signals are integrated. It is where the day's inputs are sorted, where energy use is recalibrated, where memory is shaped, where immunity is tuned, where repair is given priority, where the body stops performing for the world and begins tending to itself. And as the night deepens, the language of the body becomes quieter. In the first part of the night, deeper sleep tends to be more prominent. This is when some of the most powerful restorative signals are often emphasized. Growth and repair processes rise. Metabolic demand shifts. The nervous system moves away from the bright edge of wakefulness. Later in the night, the architecture changes. REM sleep becomes more prominent. The body continues its work in different ways through memory, emotion, brain activity, and the strange inner theatre of dreaming. But for this journey, the exact staging matters less than the larger truth. The night is structured. It is not random. It is not blank. It is a sequence of changing conditions, and each condition supports a different part of restoration. This is also why fragmentation matters. Sleep can be long enough on paper and still not feel restorative if it is broken again and again. Each awakening can pull the body back toward vigilance. Each interruption can disturb the continuity of the repair environment. The body may return to sleep, but the rhythm has been disturbed. And cells respond not only to total hours, but to timing, depth, regularity, and continuity. This is not a reason to fear awakenings. Everyone wakes briefly during the night. Most people do not remember it. The sleeping body is not meant to be perfectly motionless, perfectly unconscious, perfectly sealed away from the world. But when sleep is repeatedly disrupted night after night, the body may spend less time in the stable internal states that support repair. That is the quiet cost. Not one awakening, not one short night. The repeated loss of continuity, the repeated shrinking of the maintenance window. And yet, even here, the hopeful pattern remains. Continuity can improve. Rhythm can improve. The nervous system can learn safety again. The body can begin to trust the night. Sometimes that begins with simple things: a darker room, a cooler room, a regular sleep window, morning light, less alcohol near bedtime, less late-night brightness, a quieter final hour, not as rules to perform, as signals that say to the body, the day is ending now. You can stop defending. You can begin repairing. One of the most beautiful things about sleep is that you do not have to consciously direct the repair. You do not have to tell mitochondria how to manage oxidative stress. You do not have to tell clock genes when to rise and fall. You do not have to instruct glial cells how to clear debris. You do not have to supervise DNA repair enzymes as they move toward damaged places. The body already knows these patterns. They were built into you before you understood them. Long before you ever heard the word telomere, your cells were protecting the ends of chromosomes. Long before you knew about mitochondria, they were making the energy that allowed you to move, think, heal, and breathe. Long before you learned about circadian rhythms, light and darkness were teaching your body when to be alert and when to soften. Long before you understood sleep as science, sleep was already taking care of you. That is the point. The knowledge is not here to make the night heavier. It is here to make the night more trustworthy. To help you understand that when you feel yourself drifting, you are not losing time. You are entering one of the body's oldest forms of care. As sleep deepens, the brain and body begin to reduce the demands of wakefulness. The muscles relax. Breathing steadies. Heart rate often slows. Temperature continues its nightly shift. Hormonal patterns move through their darkened sequence. Inside cells, the conditions become more favorable for maintenance. Some processes slow down. Others become more active. Signals that were loud during the day begin to quiet. The chemistry of defense gives way, gradually, to the chemistry of restoration. This does not happen like a switch. It is more like the tide. A slow withdrawal of the day's pressure. A slow exposure of what needs to be cleaned. A slow return of resources to the places that were waiting. Imagine the cell again as a living city. During the day, the roads are full. Messages move quickly. Factories are running. Energy is being spent. Waste is being produced. Repairs happen when they can, but the city is busy. At night, traffic changes, the lights dim, crews can reach the roads, damaged structures can be inspected, power systems can be serviced, waste can be moved, instructions can be reorganized for morning. The city is not asleep in the sense of being inactive. It is asleep in the sense of being available for restoration. This is what sleep gives the body: availability. The chance for repair to become the priority instead of the background task. And this is where sleep reverses the direction of cellular aging. During deprivation, the arrow points toward accumulation. More demand, more oxidative pressure, more inflammatory signaling, more clock disruption, more unrepaired damage, more debris. more compensation. During restorative sleep, the arrow begins to point the other way, toward clearing, toward repair, toward synchronization, toward lower demand, toward steadier energy, toward quieter inflammation, toward the body's original design for renewal. You may not feel every part of that in the morning. Some repairs are too small to feel. Some changes are molecular, invisible, silent. But silence does not mean nothing happened. The most important work in the body often happens below sensation. You do not feel DNA repair. You do not feel methylation patterns shifting. You do not feel a mitochondrion clearing damaged proteins. You do not feel an inflammatory pathway returning toward baseline. You simply wake, perhaps, with a little more steadiness, a little more clarity, a little less ache, a little more capacity to meet the day. And beneath that ordinary morning feeling, the cells have been tended. This is why the morning after real sleep can feel so different from the morning after only time in bed. The clock may show the same number of hours, but the body knows the quality of the passage. It knows whether the night was broken into pieces. It knows whether the nervous system stayed near the surface. It knows whether the dark was deep enough, long enough, quiet enough for the inner work to continue. And when the night has held, even imperfectly, the body often carries a different signal into morning. Less static, less urgency, less internal friction, more room. That room is not just psychological, it is biological space. Space for energy to be made more cleanly. Space for repair to keep pace. Space for the immune system to listen before it reacts. Space for the cell to return to order. And sometimes that is what renewal feels like from the inside. Not dramatic change, not a sudden transformation, but the quiet return of order. This is why sleep and aging are so deeply connected. Not because sleep makes the body immortal, but because aging is partly the story of maintenance falling behind. And sleep is one of the times maintenance catches up. The night cannot remove every burden. It cannot undo every stressor. It cannot replace all the other forms of care the body needs. But it can restore direction. It can give the body a recurring chance night after night to move away from accumulation and toward repair. That recurring chance matters more than perfection. A perfect night is not required. A single number is not the whole story. The body is listening for a pattern, enough darkness, enough regularity, enough continuity, enough time, enough safety, enough permission to let go. And when those signals arrive, the cells respond. The clock begins to align. The repair pathways begin to rise. The waste systems begin to clear. The nervous system begins to settle. The immune system begins to recalibrate. The mitochondria begin to work in a quieter internal world. The body begins to remember that night is not just the absence of day. Night is its own kind of medicine. Not medicine in the sense of a pill. Medicine in the older, deeper sense. A condition that allows healing. A place where the body can return to itself. And if you are still awake as you hear this, there is no need to force the descent. Forcing is a daytime reflex. Sleep comes through allowing. You can let the facts become softer now. DNA repair, mitochondria, telomeres, inflammation, circadian rhythm, autophagy. All of them can begin to lose their sharp edges. They do not have to remain concepts. They can become images. Small lights in a dark cellular city. Quiet crews moving through empty streets. Old material being carried away. Power stations cooling and resetting. Instructions being folded back into order. Signals dimming. The whole body lowering its voice. Somewhere inside you, cells are moving through their own night, not sleeping the way you sleep. but changing with your sleep, receiving the darkness, receiving the rhythm, receiving the lower demand, receiving the chance to repair. And this is the hopeful truth at the center of the story. The damage of sleep deprivation is real, but so is the responsiveness of the body. The body does not only accumulate, it restores. It does not only wear down, it renews. It does not only record stress, it responds to care. One better night matters, not because it fixes everything, because it begins the direction again. One protected sleep window matters. One quieter evening matters. One return to rhythm matters. The body is not waiting for perfection before it begins. It begins with what you give it. And tonight, if sleep comes slowly, even the act of resting in darkness is a signal. Even the lowering of stimulation is a kindness. Even the choice to stop asking the body to perform is part of the return. There is a way the night gathers what the day scattered. It gathers breath, it gathers temperature, it gathers rhythm, it gathers the small chemical imbalances left behind by effort. It gathers the fragments of attention. It gathers the body back from the edges of the world. And somewhere in that gathering, cellular aging is being opposed. Not dramatically, not loudly, but steadily. By repair, by cleanup, by timing, by restoration, by the repeated mercy of sleep. So let the idea of cellular aging become small now. Small enough to be held without fear. Small enough to become one more reason to trust the night. Your cells have carried you through another day. They have spent energy for you. They have defended you. They have repaired what they could while the lights were still on. And now, as the world grows quieter, they are allowed to turn toward deeper work. There is nothing you need to manage, nothing you need to monitor. The body knows the pathway. The night knows the sequence. The dark knows how to arrive. Let the breath slow if it wants to. Let the muscles soften if they are ready. Let the mind release the need to follow every word. Somewhere beneath awareness, repair does not require your attention. It only requires the chance. And sleep is that chance. Sleep is the lowering of the drawbridge. Sleep is the dimming of the city. Sleep is the quiet hour when the smallest workers can come out and tend what the day has used. Sleep is the body's answer to the where of living. You were built for this. Built not only to move through the day, but to be restored by the night. Built not only to spend energy, but to renew it. Built not only to carry time, but to meet time with repair. And if the night takes you before these words are finished, that is not a failure of attention. That is the work beginning. The science can wait. The body does not need the rest of the explanation. It already knows. Let the cells have their darkness. Let the clocks find their rhythm. Let the repair crews move quietly through the places that need them. Let the old signals fade. Let the day loosen. Let the body turn inward. And let the night do what the night was made to do.